guys, welcome back to my channel. So today's video is basically like in relation to baby loss awareness week. So it's from the 9th till the 15th of October. So with baby loss awareness week, this relates to me because I actually experienced a loss about nearly 2 years ago. Actually, it happened in October, ironically, baby loss awareness week. I decided that I wanted to do this video because if it can help others, and it's also therapeutic for me to be able to speak about it, because I haven't spoke much about it since it happened. I kind of had to just get on with it, if you get what I mean. Literally after it happened, I found out that my brother is expecting his first baby. It was in October, which is ironic because it's baby loss awareness week. I think ever since I've had my first pregnancy, now as soon as I'm like late on my period or like my body starts to feel different, I can just kind of tell that something is going on. So I was literally like a few days late and I thought, you know what, yeah, I'm gonna get a test. I got a test, but I didn't think that I was pregnant. I don't know, I just thought, let me just get a test. I got a test and it was positive. I'm not gonna lie, I was not happy at all. I wasn't in a place to have a baby, another baby. I'd already had obviously Jamel and Joel, and I was going through the whole, I think Jamel had been diagnosed, Joel had a speech delay, so yeah, it wasn't the right time. So I wasn't happy. So obviously straight away I thought, okay, what are my options? Obviously think, okay, cool, I don't think I'm gonna go through with this pregnancy. I started to experience like cramping and like light bleeding. So I read up on it, and I also told the people at the clinic that I was speaking to, and they said, oh, that's like kind of normal in pregnancy, but if it gets worse, go to A&E. After a few days I noticed I was still bleeding, so I decided to go to A&E. I actually started thinking, maybe I'm on my period, like maybe I've come on my period, and I was so happy thinking, okay, cool, maybe it means I'm not pregnant and I don't have to go ahead with what I want to do. So I went to A&E, and obviously it's routine for them to do a routine pregnancy test, but they didn't tell me they were doing one. I just thought they were doing like a urinalysis, so that's basically when they test your urine to see if you have an infection. So they came back to me and they said they've done all my vital, like they've done like my blood pressures, things like that. They can't really see anything wrong with me. If the abdominal pain gets worse, that I should come back. So I went home, days went on, I was still bleeding, but the cramps were getting worse now. So, and the bleeding was getting a bit more red in colour. So it started off pink and now it's getting a bit more red in colour. So I came back and then I saw someone else in A&E, and she said, okay, yeah, so we saw someone else in A&E. Then when I spoke to them, they basically said, okay, from your previous pregnancy test that we did, we can see that obviously you are pregnant. So we need to do some tests to see, like, honestly. From the pregnancy test that they did the last time, which I think was like a week prior, they saw that obviously I was pregnant, but they was like, you're still experiencing bleeding, you're getting cramping, it could possibly be a miscarriage, but we need to do like some further tests. So I think there's a test that they do, and I think based on I think it's HCG levels, correct me if I'm wrong, but there's a certain levels in when you're pregnant where like it will show whether like you're losing the pregnancy or whether the pregnancy is quite strong, I guess, I'm not sure. So they needed to do that. So I think they did it, I'm not sure, they didn't give me the results of that, but they told me that they need to monitor it. So they gave me I think they told me to come back in like a few days. So then I went away, and then I came back in a few days, and I think within them days that I was away as well, like it was just like a roller coaster of emotions, because when I first found out, obviously I wasn't something I was happy about because it just wasn't planned and I wasn't in the right frame of mind. I just wasn't ready for another pregnancy or another child. But at the same time, to hear that you might be losing the pregnancy, even though you didn't want it, it's so hard to explain, but it was a very emotional time for me. It was hard for me to kind of process. Like I just went through such a range of different emotions. So anyway, I went back to the clinic, and then I don't know, I think I had a bit of hope in me as well that I wouldn't miscarry in a way, I don't know. But I sat down, and then they gave me, I think, the results of my blood test. I'm not sure. yeah, I did a blood test. They gave me the results, and they said from the results that they could see that I'm miscarrying, and that there's nothing that they can do basically. That the pregnancy is basically it's not. I don't know what the right term is, but basically I was losing the child. And I remember it was a man, a male. I'm not sure if it was a midwife, but he spoke to me and he basically had like some talk with me, and he said, like, just remember, it's not nothing you've done. Because I think in my head as well, I had like some self-guilt. Like, is it because I didn't want the baby? Is this why it's happened? Because like, even though I was trying to start the procedures to, I guess, not carry on with this pregnancy, I just feel like, I don't know if I could actually go through with something like that. So in a way, I felt like, was that like, I don't know, God's way of kind of removing it and doing it for me so I wouldn't have to go through that myself. So I had a lot of self-guilt, and that made me like really, really upset and all of that. So yeah, him just telling me that it was not my fault and that obviously this is what happens sometimes, and like not to kind of be too hard on myself. It did help a little bit, but at the same time, I think I was still carrying a lot of that self-guilt. And I think that's what made it harder for me to kind of like grieve or like to come to terms with that, because at the same time it was like I was telling myself, you're not allowed to grieve, you didn't want this anyway. So yeah, it was really hard. And around that time, obviously I was processing Jamel being diagnosed as autistic. I had a younger child to also look after, so I didn't have no time. And then I think around that time it was kind of coming to the time of like the pandemic as well. So the world was just crazy at that time. And then to go through that, and then I didn't really speak to anyone about it as well, because I just didn't even want to speak to anyone. I don't know, how do you really speak to people about things like that? And I have people around me that have gone through things like that, but you know, it's like you never think it's going to be you. And then imagine after finding out you're miscarrying, literally days later you find out your younger brother is expecting his first child. So in my head, all I kept thinking is, oh my gosh, this could have also been me. Even when he had his child, I kept thinking my child could have been the same age as your child right now. And it's crazy because obviously I love my nephew and stuff, but every time I see him, it's like a reminder of like what I don't have. During that period, it was hard for me to kind of like see pregnancies was fine. It was babies, I found it really hard to see. So every time I saw like a child, like a baby, a brand new baby, I just found, I don't know, it was like, not that I would get emotional, but it was just hard to kind of see, because it was just like, oh, this is something that you're not going to have right now. Like, it was just a reminder, I guess. I just wanted to share my experience with you guys, because I've seen, obviously it's Baby Loss Awareness Week, and like I've been watching a lot of posts, seen a lot of videos and stuff, and I've noticed that a lot of people have like memories. So like some people have like scan pictures, some people have like the burial, some people have like, I don't know, pictures of the child that they actually had that they lost. And it's a beautiful thing to have something to remind you of that loss. I don't have anything. I can't even remember the date it was, because I just tried to forget everything so quickly. I just didn't want any reminders, and I just got on with it. And now I really regret that. I wish there was something that I had. I wish I would have asked them if I could have got like, I don't know, a picture or something. I'm not sure if you can when it's that early, because I think it was about, I'd say about maybe less than 6 weeks. So yeah, it was very, very early. So that's like the one thing that I do regret from that experience, that I have nothing to kind of remember. All I know is that it was in October, which is crazy to me because that's like Baby Loss Awareness Week. But yeah, I just wanted to kind of share my experience, because I just feel like it's really therapeutic. For me anyway, I find it therapeutic to kind of speak on things that you go through. And it's kind of like starting that journey of kind of working towards kind of, I guess, grieving and getting over it. Not getting over it, because that's not something you should ever like forget. That's always going to be part of my life, but it's something that I'm like trying to kind of get over in a way, like learn to deal with it basically. Quite a few people unfortunately around me that have been through things like that, and it's so sad. And I can't lie, even when people ask me like, do you want any more kids, like that's something now that I have to think about. And the amount of anxiety you would think about, like, would that happen again? I think one thing that really helps is the fact that I've already got children, and obviously I know a lot of people can't really relate to that, but I think maybe that's something that helped me cope, because I've got children already. You hear about like stories all the time, don't you, that people have like a lot of these losses and then they finally have their rainbow baby. And I think a rainbow baby is basically a child that's born after a loss. But to anyone that has gone through anything like that, like I totally relate to you, and I hope that God heals your heart, and that you find it easier to cope with, and you learn to live with it. So yeah, and I hope that this video helps anyone that is currently going through something like that. And yeah, so